Welcome back to the OPL. We are just about ready to get into our final game of the week. I'm still Jake Spawn-Tiberi, joined by Jish, coach of the Chiefs, as well as Juves, the jungler for Sin Gaming. And it's been a pretty interesting game so far. I mean, with a 2-1 victory going over to Team Regicide, over TM Gaming. But we have another awesome best of 3 coming your way, as it's going to be Legacy Esports taking on Abyss Esports for what should be the battle for outright first for Legacy here, as they're currently tied with the Direwolves.
Yeah, you say battle, and like in my head, it's like it's a battle with themselves, right? Like this is the match that they're looking to come in, 5-0 against like the 2-3 team that haven't looked, the best at the moment. And they have to try pick this up 2-0 to just grab, that clear first place spot.
I know Tim likes to say he'll take a 2-1 any day of the week, but I think anything less than a 2-0 for Legacy here is kind of like a loss for them.
And it has to be a momentum game building towards that Direwolves. Direwolves are trending down at the moment, at least in my opinion. It looks like Legacy are on the way up. Is that how you guys are seeing it as well?
I think it's hard to Chiefs are obviously a top team, top 3, top 4 team. But it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to kind of it's really hard to kind of quantify like that victory over Chiefs. So I think if I'm Legacy, I just want to focus on like getting the win and not getting too far ahead of themselves and just looking at that Direwolves match.
Yeah, well, for me, it's always about, you take it one step at a time, right? So they can be, like, very, ecstatic that they beat the best team in OPL on Friday. And then, no, they just need, they need to actually take it one step at a time. So they have to have prepared for Abyss, and they want to take this one cleanly, then spend their week preparing for Direwolves, and, and just do it one step at a time.
All right, so not getting ahead of themselves. However, Abyss also picked up a much-needed victory over Avant. I thought that was Abyss elevating their play. How did you see it, Juves? Was it a case of, Avant maybe a little bit more pretender than contender at the moment?
I kind of saw it both ways. I saw Abyss. I thought they definitely improved. But I also think that, that AV could have been can be the product of a Korean bootcamp, a stable roster, and maybe just stabilizing and not maybe getting better, whereas Abyss did get better. It's really hard to tell from one game. It'll be interesting to see how AV and Abyss go, well, Abyss more specifically against Legacy, to definitely tell if they've improved. And yeah, I think, what do you think, Jish?
Well, yeah, I mean, the desk comment yesterday was just that, heading into the Abyss matchup, AV should be looking to push for that top 4 sort of spot, which they keep telling everyone that they are contending for. And, and the performance that they gave was not that. Definitely an amount of respect to Abyss. I think that, they had some interesting drafting decisions, and then, the Bard was pretty cool.
Yep.
They pulled out some interesting stuff, but I do think that, it would be a very big test for them to take not only 1, but 2 games off Legacy.
All right, cool. And a player that I was interested in, because we mentioned all the changes that Abyss went through. However, Raid versus Lost today. Raid had a pretty all right series yesterday, but going up against Lost, going up against the Lost Cupcake duo lane is a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah, no, I think that Lost and Cupcake look like a very, very potent bot lane at the moment, and they've had some impressive performances. He's shown versatility across a few different champions, and Raid had a pretty good performance. I think he did his job in team fights. Definitely areas for improvement, but this will be a pretty hard matchup for them, I'd say.
Well, I think the thing for Raid, right, in this match specifically, is you can't just do your job. If you do your job, you've lost the game. That's as simple as that. Because Lost is going to do more than his job. You can see by those statistics right there that he's done more than his job in almost all the games. So for Abyss to get the win here, Raid has to do his job, more damage, and then translate that into the rest of the map.
All right, cool. And where else on the map are we looking for this one? I mean, is it the Luch versus Claire matchup? Is it top lane? What are you looking for?
Yeah, I think one of the shining stars that we are seeing out of this Abyss roster was Pabu. I think that he had a very slow start to the split, and maybe was a bit overhyped from his performances last split. But I think in his series, yesterday, that he actually played quite well. He came into his own a little bit, and I think that if there is somewhere, Tally is looking like, he's not looking like the best top laner like he has once had a claim to, and maybe that's an area they can break into.
Well, I think he did get solo killed by Swiper last week, and I think Swiper was actually dumpstering top lane in a certain game. So yeah, if I'm Abyss, I kind of look at that and think, okay, can we exploit that? Is his laning that weak? Because we think, as in Abyss, think that Pabu is one of the best top laners in the region. So if you're that confident with your top laner, I think you just go with that side of the map and run with it.
All right, cool. See if they do that. However, let's first take a look at the Legacy Esports lineup. They fly as one. It is going to be Jimmy Shoot, Tally in the top lane. It is the big boss Carbon in the jungle. Claire is their superstar mid laner who is only on the rise. Lost and Cupcake make up the Kiwi bottom lane down there, of course, over from New Zealand. Their coach is Soul Strikes, another New Zealander. So many New Zealanders on this lineup.
get to
I
speak
never
to-
actually realised.
They get to speak the same language.
Is that who do you reckon translates for him?
Probably Carbon. Carbon's been around the world. He's got the accents down pat.
Worldly bad Carbon being able to do that. But this roster, I mean, arguably came in via the OPL Twitter vote, tips vote, not me, as the underdogs into the Chiefs matchup. They put on a 2-0 clinic. Do you think that that's one of the games where they would have put a lot of preparation into the Chiefs Esports Club and maybe undercooked the Abyss? And will that hurt? Do you think that you have enough time in a week to really prepare well for 2 opponents?
He hates the Chiefs. He hates the colour blue. He hates everything. So he definitely put time into that game. I think they put a lot of time into that game, Legacy. And the scary thing for this is did you not put enough time into Abyss? Did you not respect Abyss enough? Because I can tell you with this iteration of OPL and the teams, if you don't put time into every team, you can definitely lose a game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to just, benefit of the doubt. I feel like they're a really smart team, and it's not like it's their first split in the OPL. They've played in Super Weeks before. They've beaten me in Super Weeks before. And they probably are ready to prepare for multiple opponents.
Yeah, I think it's been 2 years nearly since the Chiefs Esports Club beat Legacy in the
thanks for
regular
reminding
season.
me.
However, let's take a look at Abyss Esports lineup. It's going to be Pabu in the top laner. He had a fantastic performance. Seb is their jungler. Luch is their superstar mid laner. Raid is their AD carry. Rosie, of course, is their captain and support, as he kindly reminded me yesterday. And, of course, they do have Coach Drac behind them, putting together the drafts. Drac trying to get Pabu a little bit more strengths in the drafts recently, as we've pointed out, but also not afraid to pick a little bit of scaling for Luch at the moment.
Drac lets Rosie play Rapid Fire Cannon Bard, so, whatever.
Man, if he's your captain, you got to trust him. Do you not trust Spook, Swiffer, or whoever the heck is
Not if he's building Rapid Fire Cannon on Bard.
Look, I would take a Rosie Rapid Fire Cannon Bard over his Leona. All right? I don't want no Leona in the OPL anymore. So if that's all he's going to do and build Rapid Fire Cannon, so be it. Run with it.
We've got 2 Bard players in the game at the moment. Is Bard all he's cracked up to be?
Bard sucks.
Bard, if you pick Bard, you deserve to lose your tower at 10 minutes, die 3 times. And if your Bard ever pops off, if the Bard ever carries a game, something happened in that game, and your bot lane should be looked at. They should be looked at.
Why don't you find your bench players? Look at the substitute options there. No, I think Bard does have a few probably niche spots to be picked, and probably does some good matchups and things like that. But I feel like maybe just not as much priority as these guys give it.
It certainly is an entertaining thing to take a look at. However, we do need to get into predictions as the players are ready to go. Juice, quickly, who's going to take this one?
I was wrong today, so I'm going to go with the Legacy 2-0. I think their bot lane's too strong. I think their mid lane will neutralize, and I think Tally is smart enough to not let Pabu run away with the game.
I'm going to go with Legacy 2-0 because if it was an Abyss win or a Legacy 2-1, it would look really bad for me. So please, Legacy, win this one 2-0.
Just try to claim a little bit back on that one. However, let's take a look at OPL tips and see where they left off for this one. As I suspected, 62% of people nearly think this is going to be a Legacy 2-0, and over 90% of people, 92% of people, in fact, think that they are going to take the victory today. They certainly come in as hot favorites. Get on board and grab your Uber Eats. However, also ask us anything at the desk. I mean, we've talked a lot about the jungle. If there's another role that you want to look at, or maybe just the jungle again, tweet at OPL and at SinJuice. Use that hashtag IamOPL. However, the players are ready to get into the lobby. I'm ready to get off this desk. Let's send it back to eGym as well as Fish.
Thanks, Spawn. I'm Matthew Fish. Joining me is Bryce the Brick Ejim Paul. I'm about to get into game number 2 of tonight. It's going to be Legacy taking on Abyss. How are you feeling, Ejim?
You know,
feeling
Brick,
good?
I'm feeling good. You know, Brick came about when I was a Bard One Trick. When my solo queue name was Red Pants and Jish started calling me Brick. That's the thing. And then we have Brick. Sybil's name in solo queue was Brick, and he was like a Bard guy. So
we're going to see Bard today?
Is this going to be a Bard game?
Ooh. Double Bard, 2 Bards, WTF.
They do ban away the Jace immediately on the side of Abyss.
But
Claire showed...
What do you think? You know, your coach on the desk, as well as Juves and Spawn, all agree that if you pick Bard, you should be punished for it?
In this meta, he's actually coming back in that it went from a very extremist, range meta where you had the likes of the Zarya, the MF sort of thing, right? And then it's completely switched to more of the tanks. You see the Braum, you see the Ali, and these are all good matchups for the Bard. He bullies around the melee supports, and so if there's ever a time to pick it, it's on the fringe of this meta, not the last one.
I think you're absolutely right, Ejim.
Jake is telling me I'm wrong.
No, Jake's just always wrong. That's why he's a host now.
He's not a professional player, so I don't care what he has to say. Anyway.
Well, we are the Jarius select for game number 1 between Legacy and Abyss. Cho'Gath, Thresh, as well as Rakan banned out by Legacy. Kha'Zix, Galio, and Jace hitched events for Abyss.
Yeah, they do respect Claire's Jace, as I was saying. Not many players in the OPL do play it, but it is a Claire special. Claire is the kind of player, as they do first pick Zac, interestingly enough. Claire's the kind of player in my eyes that picks a couple of champions and gets really good at them at a time. Okay. He's never the player with like a 7 to 8 deep champion pool. He's like, I'm really good at 3 things, and then like the rest of them are like pretty okay. He's not a one trick, but he's like no, but like he's almost like a one trick, like each champion at a time. He's like, no, this week it's Jace, next week it's Syndra, next week it's Ahri. Like, you know what I mean? It's like constantly rotating.
Well, let's see what his pick for the week is going to be in this match. For now, though, Abyss, they lock in Maokai as well as Xayah. 2 very strong picks. We'll have to see if Maokai goes top lane or into the jungle.
I'm going to...
A Braum pick coming out from Legacy. Rakan's already banned out with
Ooh.
Tristana picked up by Legacy.
Yeah, I'm going to leak a slight bit of insider knowledge here.
Ooh.
I was upstairs.
Hello.
And I was talking to Babip, and I gave him 50 cents so he could buy himself a little snack. And I was like, okay, for that generous gesture, you need to give me a bit of goss. And he said, they're gonna pick Maokai and we're gonna pick Zac. And that's exactly what's happened here for Legacy. So they've got exactly what they wanted.
It's called bribery, Jim.
Yeah.
It's not great.
Well, they just got jarned. And speaking of bribery, yesterday Jakey was effectively taking bribes from his runes. He took too much gold per 10. Wondering if Rosie's going to do the same. Janna, very common counter pick to the Zac, as we saw yesterday. Very easy to cancel his engages.
We've seen it picked up internationally as well. Last night it was playing in the LPL.
Was it into Zac?
I can't remember if it was into Zac, but I know it was played.
She's also a champion that benefits from a melee-heavy meta in the bot lane. She not that great a laner. Like, she's a decent laner, but she doesn't have much offensive capabilities. And all the tanks, that's kind of all they do. Ali wants to go in. Braum doesn't do a whole lot in lane, but she benefits from not being engaged upon like time and time again and being poked out by the likes of Karma, Zyra.
Coin has helped Janna out a lot. Amplifies her passive tremendously when you're able to stack up enough stacks.
Yeah, a lot of people saying that Coin is very good on this patch. A lot of support saying it gives you a lot of gold, especially when you can't proc the Spell Thief stats.
Well, the next 2 bans coming out from Abyss are Echo as well as Jax. Kassadin banned out by Legacy. So Corki is definitely a pick that's on the table now.
Corki definitely. Wondering what Legacy ban here. They haven't shown an awful lot. Neither team really has. With the Rakan banned away, they don't get the Lovers duo lane outside of Abyss, but it's just jungles and bot lane shown. Very standard draft from both sides. They do ban away the Syndra.
Yeah, maybe following up for the Echo ban earlier by Abyss.
Absolutely. We saw some cheeky things out of Luch yesterday. He did play the Diana to not great success.
He tried to play the Diana.
He tried to play the Diana. What did we call it? A GPS malfunction?
I believe so.
Yeah, so wondering what he goes for this time.
Orianna picked up by him, so he could potentially just see Control Mage match up in the mid lane.
Yep.
Legacy have to show their cards now. Top lane as well as the mid lane picks coming up for them. Abyss have held on to their top lane or jungle pick so far.
Yeah, we did see the flex out of the Maokai with ZZZ running it into the top lane, so I'm doubting that is a thing. But we did see the Cho'Gath flex for the side of Abyss yesterday, where they put that into the top lane onto Pabu. So potentially he has been doing the same thing with the other tanks that are coming back into the jungle.
Potentially. It's a Karma pick for Legacy for Claire. The ban of Jax might mean that Pabu wants to play Camille top.
If they get a tanky top laner as they're hovering the Gnar, blind pick Gnar, okay. They do have a very tanky comp. They have the Braum, Gnar when he's Mega, and they have the Zac with a Karma mid, Mantra shielding them all. And Abyss don't have an awful lot of damage right now. They have a Maokai in the jungle. They have an Orianna. They don't have a damage support. They have the Janna. So it's just the Xayah and the Ori right now, and they are picking a tank top. Ooh. So
that's a
gotta be pick. very hard for them to deal damage to the backline of Legacy. If they do choose to get into a front to back sort of team fight, they're not going to be able to get to Lost Tristana. He's been touted as, if not the best, one of the best AD carries on the server. Very good performances earlier in the split. So
let's see if this is going to be Gragastop or Maokai. Seems like for now, Abyss wants to send the Maokai to the top lane, similar to what we saw from ZZZ. Fairly strong laner and used to do well into Gnar. So curious to see how this one goes.
I think it's a bet. I think they'll switch. They've got till 20 seconds. 4, 3, 2, come on, do it.
Nope.
1.
Gragas jungle, Maokai in the top lane.
So Pabu has done the same thing with Cho'Gath. He did yesterday. He's doing it with Maokai again.
Yeah, he's a big, it's just a bit of BM. Throwing the big tree in the top lane against Legacy.
And but people were saying they that Seb wanted Maokai, but Seb didn't get Maokai.
Unlucky.
So Carbon got Zac, but
See,
they got the...
you only gave him 50 cents, so he
Oh,
gave you half
I
the
didn't-
knowledge,
oh.
you know? He didn't give you the full
I didn't even
detail.
give him a gold coin. I gave him
Yeah.
a silver coin. That's my mistake.
Disappointing, really. If you want to bribe someone, you know,
Sorry,
go all
guys.
in. Give him like $2 or something.
Yeah,
That's
$2?
enough, right?
That's like 4 times the amount. That's a lot of snacks. I don't think Babip needs any more snacks.
What are you trying to say about Babip?
Well, he's just a kid. He doesn't need more lollies. Anyway, moving on to the game we have here. Both teams quite tanky. Do have a lot of shielding on both sides. You have the Mantra E from the Karma as well as the Orianna and the Janna. So no real big split push threats. We do have the Gnar, I guess, but comparatively to the likes of the Jax, the Camille, the Fiora that we've seen earlier today and earlier in the OPL.
I mean, it does seem like these two coaches have a much better read on the meta than we saw from the last series. So curious to see how this matchup goes. For now, though, let's check in with Spawn, who is standing by with Big Brain Soul Strikes.
Hey guys, I'm standing alongside Soul Strikes here, coach of Legacy Esports. First of all, what are your thoughts on 7.14? Because teams are saying it's pretty linear, pretty tank meta-y, but we've seen some different drafts so far.
Well, we picked Zac, the Cinderhawk jungler, the S tier jungler. So the Janna pick is kind of interesting. Like she was like the go for like the Cinderhawk jungler, like for the disengage. So, but she has really weak laning phase, so we're going to be abusing that with Tristana.
All right, cool. And you've got a very protect the lost 80 carry composition going on here with the Tristana and all of the peel. Is this a composition that you need to be grouped as 5 to be able to execute?
No, not necessarily, because we still have double 2 tank line coming from Braum and Zac, and in fact, Tally can act as a secondary carry, because he's now with a Ardent Sensor with Karma will be very, very strong.
All right, cool. And on the other side of the roof, we have the second Maokai top lane, I think, coming in. Do you think that he's better in the jungle, better in top lane right now? Because I thought that it was going to be a jungle-only pick.
Yeah, he lost all his tankiness coming from his ult, so yeah, I assumed it was going to be jungle, but it was an interesting flex coming from Ibis.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for speaking to us, and best of luck in the game.
All right, cheers.
There you go. Even Soul Strikes thinking that was going to be a top lane Maokai pick. Good to see the teams aren't falling into the old trap that we used to see with Cho'Gath in like Season 1, Season 2, where nobody played him jungle because he was such a good top lane and they thought it was going to be a waste. So teams happy to flex a champion even though it's maybe not in his optimal position, so to speak. And we saw early on, while we were interviewing Soul Strikes, Luch did get caught out by Cupcake as well as Lost, I believe. He healed and flashed in that engage. Felt like he didn't need to burn his heal, but decided to burn both summoners to be safe.
Yeah, it's kind of just a greedy play. He wanted to get away with just burning the heal and then decided he had to flash as well. Braum, notoriously one of the best level 1 champions in the game with his passive, lands the Q, gets the slow, and then if there's someone else up there that can proc the yikes, proc the passive, you have to flash away.
That's brutal. Hey, at Ejim Lol, how many times have you been to Worlds? Hashtag BKT 2015 from at Spawn Lol.
Not Spawn lol lol.
No, he's not Spawn,
Spawn
Lol.
Lol.
Just
Okay.
Lol.
Yeah, I haven't been to Worlds, unfortunately. How many times has Jake been?
Oof.
Quite a few times, my friend.
Okay.
He was casting the grand finals last year. Meanwhile, there's a flash in the mid lane, a lockdown Luch. He's brought back. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough damage
No
yet, but it
summoners.
is. Final attacks enough. Claire picks up first blood.
And I mean, Soul Strikes called it in the interview. Level 1, they used the Braum to get that summoner advantage, and they said that the Syndra, they said that the Ori had a weak lane, so did the Janna, and they were going to look to abuse it. And there we go, they get the pick. Abusing the summoners. Zac, early ganks are very easy. And they just pick up an easy kill for Claire.
So tough center map. We see Parbo there trading against Tally. This is an okay lane. From what I remember, it used to be a good lane for Maokai because he's happy to jump on top of the Gnar with his W. Has good sustain, great knockback.
Yeah, he had a bunch of sustain. It was hard to all in him because he got the damage reduction from his ultimate. But now that his ulti is just CC, as Big Brain Lucio was saying, he lost all his tanky stats, so will fare worse in this matchup, I believe. But probably better gank assist with that ultimate.
Meanwhile, Lost getting tagged up here by Rosie as well as Raid. As you mentioned earlier, Janna not that much offensive pressure. He throws out the Zephyr, slows down Lost, and that's all she could do.
All she wrote.
But still a strong... Janna always just adds so much strength to a lane, defensively at least.
Yeah, if any of your carries are ever ahead, Janna is like just an amplifier, right? It's you give them, especially if they're AD, you give them bonus AD when you shield them, but you just have so much ability to peel, so much defensive utility, keeping your carry threats alive. Obviously very important, as Carbon is looking for something on the top side of the map. But
He took Krugs away, but I think that's all he's going to settle for now. Top lane is
slightly in favor of Tally. You expect that in any range against melee matchup. It's more of how much can Maokai equalize once he picks up his first couple of items.
And as Juice was saying on the desk, Carbon's gone back and bought his Bummy Cinder, so he's doing things right. That is the 7.14 patch. He's doing the OP tank things, and Claire's bought a super variety bucket of every ring in the game.
Dark Seal, Doran's ring as well as Amplifying Tome. He's got a ward as well as potions and boots. Tally not tagging Pabu with that boomerang there. You can see Pabu playing very respectfully, as you'd expect from a Maokai this early.
Low on mana though, so will struggle to keep farming this under turret. Maybe potentially has to use his TP to get back into lane here.
Lost and Cupcake doing a fine job in the bottom lane, making sure they push it out constantly against Raid and Rosie, giving them no breathing room whatsoever. Both 80 carries again, opting into the Doran's Blade start. This has been a lot more common in 7.14.
Yeah, and the Desk did touch on Abyss's bottom lane. They had an up and down series yesterday. They were very good in the first game, but then sort of blundered in the second on the Kalista Thresh, so they are back to the likes of the Xayah that Raid did have a good performance on. But a Braum lane pushing shouldn't really be a thing.
Oh, they're going for a fight here. Lost going to jump straight into a Raid. Cupcake dives on in as well. And this is a dangerous lane. Braum, Tristana. Tristana can initiate with a Braum jumping straight to her side.
I guess it's one of the few 80 carries that actually lends Braum the ability to engage.
Yeah, this used to be a kill lane in solo queue, so it's been a while since we've seen Tristana and Braum in the same meta.
It harkens back to the Season 1, Season 2 days of Ali Tristana. That was like the OP bot lane where Ali just combo, Tristana jumped at level 2.
Disgusting.
Same sort of thing. Cupcake did actually level W at level 2, so looking for the aggressive play. I don't think we were looking at the bot lane, but we saw them get engaged on the river and he didn't have the shield, so obviously looking for that one.
Oh, Seb, though, has got a wraparound in the mid lane. Carbon just used his jump, even though he's close by, it's going to be difficult for him to get there. Luch, though, very low. Oh, he still gets it, though. Great counter coming out from Seb.
Misplayed slightly there. Had to burn his flash, but a good reactionary play from Seb to use the flash to get the engage off anyway. Probably could have held his E a little bit longer. Knew Claire didn't have it from the gank in the mid lane when they did kill Luch, but now that Luch's summoners were back up, they get the answer in the mid lane and evens it out a little bit. Claire does have TP though, so he's going to respawn in 3, 2, and 1 and probably teleport back to lane.
Yep, does just that. We'll be teleporting to collect all of those minions. But Legacy still slightly ahead at the moment. Some reprieve for Luch in the mid lane. His summoner spells are back up now.
Boss was just pranking. He didn't want that CS. Just a prank.
Bit of a bribe, you could say.
Oh, he pranked that one too. As we did mention though, Rosie did opt for the coin. On this patch, did get buffed. A lot more gold than
Yep. Would be also curious to see if he's running the...
He's too tanky.
Gold Potence.
I didn't mention it, but I saw it at level 1. I looked at his HP bar. He's way too tanky to be running Gold Gen yellows. You could be running Quints or something like that. Potentially, yeah. Because support, the most standard support rune page is something like Armor, Reg, HP yellows, Magic Resist blues, and then if you're a tank, like some Armor Quints, some AP Quints or something on the likes of Janna. But he had a lot of health at level 1, so I assume he didn't take the Gold Gen.
Well, Janna's one of those few champions you can afford to run Gold Gen because you're normally not the primary target in the bottom lane.
Your laning phase consists of sitting behind your 80 carry, shielding them out of damage, and just disengaging. So in this matchup, Lost is getting the push because Tristana just pushes quicker than Xayah as they go for another engage with the
again, Raid actually gets knocked back by Lost, forces him to flash away, and they use the exhaust as well. 3 summoner spells burnt just for the ignite.
Huge coming out of the bottom lane. Yeah, only burning the ignite, and Legacy rotating everyone down here. No summoners. He did just pop level 6, so he's going to have the ulti.
Seb is coming in, Luch. He popped down, but he's gone away. Now teleport's coming in as well. Rubber hands from Carbon does miss. Teleports from both top lane and side coming in as Seb is here. Double body ball. Carbon in trouble, gets knocked back. That's another kill picked up by Abyss. They're going to kill Carbon as well for this.
And honestly, that was so well played by Raid there. He dodges with his ultimate, the Zac stun, and then jukes down towards his turret, and Carbon lands absolutely nothing. Instant reaction by Pabu with the TP. Maokai ulti coming up trumps. He doesn't need the extra damage resist in the lane phase if he gets a TP flash stun off like that. And
And Janna's one of those champions, again, you can't dive her very easily.
And she wasn't even level 6, didn't even use the ulti there. Still has it available. Manages to keep Raid alive with his disengage, and great stuff. They also burn Carbon's flash, so that's going to be down. They pick themselves up an Ocean Drake in response.
Yeah, they botched very heavily by Legacy there. That swung the gold lead back in Abyss's favor. They're just under 1,000 gold up. They've got a big advantage in the bottom lane now. Boots too, as well as BS Sword picked up by Raid. Luch will get a blue buff for himself and tick level 8. So he's slightly ahead of Claire in experience now.
And with the Ignite being down on Cupcake, the all-in potential is a lot less, so Raid not having summoners, getting that kill there and being able to pick up a BF sword does wonders for their lane. They should be able to play pretty safe now that they are level 6. Janna has the Monsoon as Carbon is looking for this mid lane, is not pulling the trigger. Seb would be behind him.
Yeah, that would have been a disaster. We have another tweet coming in, which is Sin Juice. I beat G4, Lloyd, and Warlock.
Why are we talking about BKT 2015? That's a rough one. I sat in a pause for an hour and 20 minutes, I think, in that game. That was a
that was a great game.
That was a disaster.
I was really happy
we were
with the
winning,
outcome.
and then it got remade. Oh, follows him.
Yeah, Pablo takes a long journey with the Zac. Going to get good damage down. Tally wants to join this fight, so he focuses on Seb. Seb turns his attention around. Carbon.
Yep.
Yeah, okay,
Nice.
cool. Now is Tally in trouble.
Potentially just baited Tally.
Oh boy, the ultimate comes out from Pablo as well. Tally's trying to get some good damage onto Seb, but he doesn't even have his rage bar up. Carbon dies. Oh, sorry, doesn't die, but sacrifices his top lane. Things aren't looking so good for Legacy at the moment.
And this is something that Carbon does quite a lot, actually. He gets caught solo invading 4 camps greedily. Uses his ulti to get himself to safety, but Tally, the entire time he was getting chased, was using his boomerang and auto attacks to slow down Seb. And then they eventually just turn onto him, so he loses his life and doesn't have teleport to get into the top wave. So Pabu gets to push it in and nullify some of the CS disadvantage that he did have.
And still, Abyss only have 1,000 gold in their favor, which is, you know, a nice lead to have, but not the biggest of leads. 11 minutes in, they'll definitely look to try and use that to their advantage. Though. A lot of the money is on Seb. 100% kill participation at the moment.
Pabu just whacking away on this top turret. That's already at half HP in a Na'Vi vs Maokai matchup. That's pretty big as Seb's looking to zone him off the turret. They don't know where Carbon is because they knew he would have based after he ultied over the wall, and the only ward they have in the Legacy jungle is that one just over over the bush at blue buff. So
Good tagging raid though, good damage coming out. Stun not going to come through, forces him to use the ultimate. He rips the feathers back, doesn't get the stun.
That was brave by Rosie, walking into melee range, gets tagged by the auto attack, but doesn't get stunned. But yeah, as I was saying, Seb doesn't pull the trigger because they didn't know where Carbon was, so they were respecting the counter gank there. As this bot lane is just constantly pushing in. They've been using their priority to float up the river. Cupcake went and watered the blue buff, and Rosie immediately answered with a pink ward. Speaking of Rosie, he's got 3 pinks in his inventory.
Quite a few. Legacy's lost and Cupcake bottom lane going to continue pushing, but they haven't created a big lead for themselves after the big counter played by Raid in the bottom lane. They haven't even chipped away at this turret much so far.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of engage for either of them. For either of the lanes. Nice block by Cupcake there to block the knock-up. Yeah, the Braum versus Janna, there's just not a lot of fight potential, to be honest. And it's going to fare well better for the Tristana, I think. In lost situation, he wants to scale up. As Spawn was asking about in the interview, they have a very good protect the lost comp here. They have the shields from Claire, shields from Cupcake, and the double frontline in Tally and Carbon. So wants to get to his 2-3 items from Tristana and start doing tons of damage in the team fights.
So Carbon again gets spotted out. There's an ultimate being burnt by Oriana straight away. Just takes some of the small chickens away. Seb is coming through. Will smite away the Raptor camp, and Abyss get absolutely everything out of that.
Yeah, Carbon did have flash there, so wasn't in too much trouble, but doesn't have to blow it. Is he looking for the Rift Herald solo? No, decides not. He wants to make sure it's still there. Poked his head around the corner.
Scene's Unholy Grail picked up by Claire, so he'll start to heal people with the shields he gives his team. We heard Ardent Sensor should be his next item from Soul Strikes. Meanwhile, Seb's going to walk into them. Instead, they charge on towards Luch, who flashes towards his jungler, escapes the knockup from Carbon, and he falls. No passive available for the captain of Legacy. And that's a great play from the Abyss mid laner.
And that was 2 really quick things there. Legacy are looking at the Gragas and they see the opportunity to go on Oriana, so they immediately turn around. And Luch, amazing flash out of him to flash through the CC towards his jungler, and they pick up a clean kill there onto Carbon. Didn't blow the flash, instead he tried to ulti away. Just got hit with another auto attack from the Ori and dies as they're looking for a dive on top.
Yeah, Seb again. He's in all the kills so far for his team. Tally's got to be careful because Gragas is right behind. Paba's just charging. He doesn't care. He's just telling Tally, there's a gank coming for you. Tally is able to successfully flash the ultimate coming out of Seb.
And Seb's having a great game. Legacy is scouting. They wanted him on the Maokai, and Pabu put a spanner in the works here, and Seb's having a great game on the Gragas. Into the Zac, you have the ability in the 1v1 to cancel his engage, so Gragas always been a jungler that's very good into Zac. Not to mention even top lane Gragas can do the same sort of thing.
I mean, they've got 3 champions that can do it. Maokai, Gragas, as well as Janna. All of them can stop that the jump coming out from Carbon. Luch can too, but it's a bit more difficult with the Shockwave.
You don't really want to be burning your Shockwave onto a Zac. as the only target. It seems like a bit of a waste, especially seeing as they have only a 2-threat comp. If he's wasting a Shockwave to keep Carbon at bay, they're probably not going to be doing any damage to Lost. He's going to be cleaning him up.
But despite the scoreboard, which is 5-1, Legacy only 1,000 gold behind, you'd expect a much bigger lead for Abyss at the moment. Pabu has been swapped bottom lane though, and they're teleporting down here. They're going to be able to lock down the Maokai. Cupcake is taking things up. Ultimate gets thrown out. Tally will slow down the Maokai. Does he jump further forward though? He does. Forces a flash out of Pabu.
Yeah.
The rest of Abyss take top lane outer, so they get first turret and they move towards Rift Herald.
And really nice macro out of Abyss there. They realize that they're just getting constantly pushed in the bottom lane. They're losing chips at their turret, so they did the same thing we saw in the last series. They recognize that they're going to lose it. They find an opportunity to recall, go topside. They actually get the first brick there and are looking at Rift Herald as well. Tally TPs, not so much for the dive. They do burn Pabu's flash on the back end of that, but...
Big damage from Luch. Claire in trouble. He avoids the tether as well. Claire forced to run away. And Abyss, they'll get the better end of this trade. First turret falls. They trade 1-for-1 in turrets, and Seb's going to be able to pick up this Rift Herald.
Yeah, and that's really big, especially with a control mage like Karma. Being able to break that mid-outer is so important. As it's another Ocean Drake that has spawned. Abyss already netted themselves one earlier.
Things are looking good for Abyss so far. We'll have to see if they can propel this gold lead further against Legacy, who are coming off of a great win earlier this week. They've swapped their bottom lane again here. Legacy sending Lost and Cupcake towards top side. Tally's going to stay down in the bottom lane.
Late recall out of Luch though. He does go through with it. I thought he maybe cancelled there, but Legacy do have the tempo because Abyss used it to get themselves a Rift Herald. So they're going to get this push on the top side of the turret. They're at least going to get a bit of a chunk here.
Yeah, this might not be too good for Abyss here. Tally's going to be a bit careful. Only Zephyr being thrown out. They get good damage on top lane outer. So although Abyss got the Rift Herald, it's going to be Legacy to get another turret for themselves nice and early.
Carbon's on Pabu and he has no flash. Pabu just W'd in, and we saw on the minimap.
They're going to go
Lost
for
his
the
tank
kill.
in the
Yes,
turret.
Carbon tries to bring it back.
Nice
Pabu with some fancy feet work there. He's able to stop not only the jump from Carbon and also dodge out the ultimate from Zach.
Really nice dodge out of Pabu there, and Lost doesn't commit to the fight. He wants to take the turret, sticks to the objective call, but the problem with trading turrets against a Rift Herald is this. They've dropped their bot lane. Do they trade 1-for-1? Do they trade 2-for-1? Can Pabu hold the wave top? He can. Unfortunately, Rift Herald hits that turret for Abyss for like 2 damage.
It takes quite a bit of itself, so this charge isn't going to be as potent, but still be some chip damage at least. Instead, Abyss back off. They go straight towards a dragon for themselves.
It does end up being an even turret trade, but Abyss are trying to pick up this dragon. Legacy potentially could have kept pushing in the top side if they didn't waste all their cooldowns trying to pick Pabu. If they just push the wave. Tristana, very fast turret pusher comparatively to the Xayah, but as we were saying, Rift Herald helps out a lot.
Cupcake wants to fight Seb here. Does have backup from Claire, but Raid chucks a couple of feathers into his shield.
Takes 0 damage as Knight's Vow for
He is a
Seb.
muscle man.
Gets put onto Raid.
But still only 1,000 gold lead for Abyss. That's 5 kills to 1. With first turret going to them.
And look at the CS lead in this jungle. The XP is fairly even, but
100 CS to 60.
looks rough.
Advantage top side of the map as well for Tally. He's about 20 up over the Maokai. And slowly Lost is farming a bit more than Raid. Not by too much.
And you have to think that this slow game favors the Legacy lineup here. We keep going back to it, but their late game teamfight comp is just so strong. So much protection for Lost. Such a long range later into the game on the Tristana, and the ability to dish out tons of damage in the teamfight. They do have a lot of lockdown from Abyss though. They have the Maokai flank TPs. That's going to be very important if Rosie can set up that vision for his team. For Pabu to get behind. And the Gragas Flash E engage is also always very big, as the Ardent Sensor is on Claire.
Yep. Nice valid submission. Picked up already by Seb. Carbon's looking for his, so even though Carbon's up in CS, still looks like he's a bit of gold behind Seb after he picked up 3 kills and 2 assists. 100% kill contribution so far for Seb. And
Pabu picks up the Thornmail component. I'm not sure what its name is. The vest. The deals...
Bramble vest? I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that. And it's a precursor to Thornmail, but it stops healing. It applies Grievous Wounds. So the likes of Tristana, AD carry, has the Doran's Blade, has the Warlord's proc. Karma has the Athene, so her Mentor E is going to be healing people and her shield's going to be healing people. Zach
well.
also, picking up his blobs, healing will be halved, so pretty valuable purchase.
We thought coming into this patch that there'd be a lot more. Meanwhile, mid lane, that's a flash coming out from Claire, dodges the shockwave, but it's locked down by Pabu. Big shield coming out from him. He escapes that, so successful from him so far.
but Maokai's ultimate keeps the entire team of Legacy back. They pile in towards Tally. That's a flash forward from Cupcake. Knocks up Rosie. All of disengage has been used by Abyss. Tally's going to go Mega. Big knockup from Carbon. He's looking for the fight. Nars him into the wall. Lost gets the first kill onto the support from Abyss. But now Rage joined this fight. Split into Boblets. Pabu falls first. They will be able to kill Carbon here, but at what cost? Teleport being used to keep him alive by Claire.
Nice.
Big body bop coming out from Seb. Raid goes aggressively forward. He is yet to be touched in this team fight, but Legacy will back off and take the 2-0.
And that team fight was just so well played by so many members of Legacy there. Carbon falls down into the Bloblets. Claire uses the TP to keep him alive there. Tally gets a Mega Gnar. Abyss just used too many ultimates to try and get a pick, and they just ended up not killing Claire. They used the Maokai ultimate. They used the...
Got good damage on Raid. He's forced to flash away. Carbon
hits
slams him into the wall. Double
Nice.
jump coming out from Tally. Lost is going to hop like Super Mario. Applies red buff to both of them. Oh no, Luch! Oh goodness, big shockwave comes out from him. He gets instantly 2 kills. Carbon returns 1. Lost is trying to kite this one out, but look at Pabu run so fast. There's the sapling. Touchdown sapling. Will it be? Chased by the little kitten. Picks up a kill. And Carbon's the one that's in trouble next. Already had his passive block. And somehow Abyss turned that around.
And the never-ending fight suddenly actually comes to an end there as Pabu TP's back in. Gets the kill there onto Tally, onto Lost. And yeah, Abyss just used so many ultimates in the initial engage in the mid lane when Xayah Raid was in top side of the map. Couldn't be at the fight. Had to use the Janna to keep them all away. And then Luch's ulti actually comes back up as Legacy chase into the bot side of the river. Gets a huge ulti.
I thought Luch killed him. He hit the plant. I was like, that's going to slow both of them down. They're dead. And then suddenly the shockwave comes back out and completely changes the fight. Teleport was actually coming in for Tally, gets cancelled, and immediately Abyss come back and say, well, if that's not coming through, we can push for this turret.
Afraid of the dive. I think Legacy are going to concede this one. Claire throwing things at the wave, but Righteous Glory on Pabu. Nice engage, and Tristana's just wants to catch the wave in the top side of the map, as you can see.
Yep, so
Not
Abyss,
interested in keeping that one alive. They do drop it.
Abyss do get a small advantage off the back of that fight. They're about 1,500 ahead of Legacy. And Abyss played that fight really well as well.
Yep.
All their disengage working out really well.
Absolutely, and
so many ways to disengage.
yeah, they're up in turrets, and they've got 2 Ocean Dragons.
Raid. Oh, Cupcake threw the ultimate out the wrong direction. Still would have been dodged by Raid.
Yeah, Raid didn't actually have to ulti that one, but scared of where the Brawl multi was going. Didn't want to get clipped by it, and then jumped on by Lost, so just blows his cooldown early as Legacy are pushing in the top side of the map.
Lost his accelerator though, has his edge spell, static shift. Pretty big Tristana at the moment. Rapid fire cannon will be the next item for him.
And the engage tools for Abyss are down right now. Gragas has no flash, Maokai has no TP or flash. They really don't have anything else unless Legacy decide to clump up on an Ori ball. We did see Luch.
He'll clear this one with the shockwave, you'd have to think. Hasn't
he
used it
needs
yet.
to.
Good damage coming out from Lost. He'll rocket jump away to safety.
He's landed 1 whiff and 1 amazing shockwave so far, so 50-50 at the moment. As a team, Legacy don't like the wave.
Legacy are pulling back the gold quite well so far. Dragon's coming up next. You can take a look at the leads. About 500 in the jungle, not in the top lane for Abyss. 600 in the mid lane for Abyss, and bottom lane's a slight advantage for Lost.
It's not that big for Lost here, but...
So all the gold lead at the moment is top lane as well as mid lane for Abyss, and Pabu is way behind Tally.
Tally has a 60 CS lead on the Gnar versus Maokai matchup, and as we were saying, as the game goes on, in mini Gnar form at least, he will be able to bully around the Maokai in the side lane. They're not matched against each other right now, as Pabu is clearing out the bot side of the map while Legacy do Dragon, and Tally is on the top side.
They've got a truce. Air Dragons are ours.
Yep.
Take the oceans. They just want to stay
They
nice and
slide
dry.
as one.
Oh, Infernal's the next one. Goodness sake.
You don't like that one?
They do fly as one, Egypt, but they're not playing Swain, unfortunately.
Oh.
Would be much better. You know?
Swain doesn't fly, he's a bird.
He has a bird. There's a Raven. Meanwhile, they're going
could've
for a
picked a
fight.
Nivea.
Look at that.
Oh.
Rosie just stops both the engages. Pull Tally back in. He's in mini Gnar. Takes so much damage. Good disengage, so he'll be able to continue this fight. But here comes Pabu's ultimate. Chases down the mini Gnar. Cupcake tries to stand in front of him to stop the damage, but he's going to get bopped back as well by Seb. Big team fight by Abyss.
And nice disengage from both teams, actually, but then Pabu comes in from the backside.
Jumps on top of Lost. He's going to rocket jump away with the heal. They lock 2 of them down. Good shutdown from Lost. Legacy trying to turn around the fight. Forces Carbon to flash away.
That Maokai ulti did so much work, locked them down, gave Raid the option to use his ultimate as that huge CC. They pick up a couple of kills, pushing in the mid wave. Pabu dies to Carbon under the turret for essentially nothing, but they're looking to pick this one up. That did give Lost a kill.
And Abyss really far ahead now. They're going to look to push for mid lane in a turret. Lost can't even step up to auto-attack this wave without any protection from his front line. Tally tried to engage there with no Mega Gnar left.
Yeah.
Gets absolutely destroyed for it.
Misses the ulti. Janna cancels the Zac engage, so they get almost nothing, but we're talking about coming into this game, the bot lane matchup is where we're really looking at. Lost versus Raid, and Raid is actually performing in this game.
So teleport coming out from Claire. Barber's going to match. This is ARAM. What's going on? They're not stopping.
Yeah. Legacy. No, actually, I don't think so. Legacy they had the tempo advantage there. They were pushing in the mid lane. They burnt the TP from Pabu. Now that they've been matched in the push and there's not a number disadvantage, Tally has teleport and they know that Pabu doesn't. As I say this, Carbon's charging up and they do want to ARAM and Tally walks back down the river. But he was looking at going into the top side of the map, setting up a bit of a split push, but that wave is huge and they know that Xayah's missing right now because they can't see her in the map. They know she wants to go catch that one, so looking for the crab, potentially setting up for the Baron.
Legacy could just pull the trigger here. That's the scrying orb being used by Abyss. Tally's going to jump over Carbon, looking for the fight against Luge. Pops the rubber hand, slows him down, but that's it. Pabu's going to be the next target. Pops his ultimate. Lost and Claire will try to avoid that one and successfully do so. Meanwhile, Cupcake's the target. Puts up the shield and knocks the ultimate away from the Gragas. Big Gnar gets the Orianna. Luge will pop the shockwave, but too late. And Carbon tries to deliver. Rosie back just bounces him up. Good damage from Legacy. They're going to push for turrets.
Tally, absolutely huge pick there onto Luge. Catches him with the tiniest clip of the Gnar ulti back into the wall. And Legacy pick up the mid adder, looking to go towards Baron.
They definitely could. I mean, top lane and bottom lane are pushing in for Legacy to just have to play this patiently.
Not to mention, Gragas already used his ulti. He tried to get a pick onto Cupcake there, set through the ultimate, and Cupcake outplayed with the Brawl Maul, knocks himself away.
They are going to collapse here. Pabu spots it out with the sapling.
They do know this is happening. They don't have Monsoon.
Tally's going Mega though. He's going to jump over. No Gnar available for him, but crunches on top of one. Pabu's the first one to get locked down. Very tanky. Here's the Maokai. Raid auto-attacking into Carbon. Knocks him into his passive. That's going to be split for a while. Pabu somehow survived that one and escapes with just under 1,000 health. Tally looking for the rock throw. Doesn't get it. Raid still aggressively pushing Legacy back.
And that was so close to being a disaster for Abyss there. Seb actually gives Tally the double jump out of the Baron pit to get onto his teammates. They barely don't pick up the kill onto Pabu as Abyss actually stun up this Baron.
Abyss say we can take this one. Tally's going back to base, does have teleport. Legacy though, they should know this is happening. Here comes the flank from Tally. Baron is at half health. They're going for it. Maokai charges up the ultimate just to keep them away. They can finish this Baron. Abyss get it. Legacy need to put up a fight if they want to try and take a win from this. Rosie is low, jumped up by Tally, can't escape with the flash. Carbon with the engage, pops the ultimate, doesn't bring anyone back into the team. Legacy get 2 kills and they're trying to speed up for more. Tally will get slowed down and Cupcake can't go any further forward. Big W being used there by Luge, slowing down the team. Rubber Hands connects, Tally's on top of him, he's going Mega. Luge with a shockwave, it's good, but Cupcake protects his team. Abyss will get the Baron, but they lose 3 members for it.
And yeah, great play by Abyss there. They recognize that Legacy all want to reset. They don't have the Baron around, the vision around Baron. Pick that up for themselves. They do lose 3 members, and they're going to lose a mid in a turret for it, but they do still have the Baron buff on the Xayah, on the Gragas. They don't have it on the side lane catcher in the Maokai, so they would have liked to have that one, but
such a close game though.
Yeah. Decisive call out of Abyss.
Seb is playing out of his mind. Where has this Seb been for the past 5 weeks? Because he's had up and down performances, but none like this. This has been really good for him.
Absolutely, and lost bases, buys a fully completed Last Whisper there.
My goodness, he's even got his second components
yeah,
for rapid
he's
fire
big.
cannon.
He picked up all the kills in those fights. He's 6-1-2 right now.
That's a scary thought. I mean, fully upgraded Last Whisper against 2 beefy frontline tanks. I am surprised, though, that he hasn't gone for the Mortal Reminder against the healing from both Gragas and Maokai.
Not to mention the Janna ulti.
Yeah, he's just trying to cut them down before they can heal back up.
Especially since the new changes to the support items with the Ardent Center, the Mikhails, the Redemption, all the Enchanter support items. Now they give you the bonuses to the shielding and healing. So Janna ulti does, as they look for a pick.
Good hop from Tally.
Janna ulti does so much healing.
Stupid.
Not to mention the Redemption gets the extra bonuses from those stats, as they are looking to the bot lane.
turned
Cupcake is
slow
flanking.
from Rift Herald earlier, but yeah, Cupcake looking for that flank. Tally's going to go Mega.
Tally has flash.
What
He's looking
is he
for it.
doing? He wants to engage here. Nars him away, crunches out, but everyone from Abyss just chases further forward. Now Karma's the one that's going to be initiated on by Abyss. He's going to take more damage. Legacy need
Where?
their frontline life. A good delivery system coming out from Carbon. Now Cupcakes holding the fort for Legacy. One by one, the front line stands in front. They get chipped down every single time.
And they still have the Monsoon from Rosie, so they can heal back up if they wanted, but Tally was standing in front of the turret. As I was saying, Cupcake was flanking. He was around near the red buff, and Carbon was just floating behind him. He was waiting, building his Mega. He wanted them to commit. He was waiting for Cupcake to get closer and Carbon to eventually land his Elastic Slingshot and go in, but Abyss pulled the trigger too soon.
They get
They
out.
pop his Mega, and he has to use his ulti to get away, and then...
Yep. He flashes well in that
Yep.
fight. They get out, pick up an Infernal Dragon for themselves. Even Claire using his flash there. Carbon just says hello. And just make sure he's well known that he's there. Big chunk of damage coming out from Claire, and Tally wants to fight this one.
Still going.
He's going to go Mega. Carbon with the rubber hand, swings Parbu back. Shockwave only
damage.
connects the front line. Big crunch from Tally. He's in the back lanes. No Gnar available for him, but he's going to get knocked back as well. Carbon now trying to jump in as well. Lost gets the first kill onto the tanky front line. He's going to rocket jump into a wall, so can't continue that fight any further forward. But Legacy, they're threading a thin line here.
Yeah, Abyss have the advantage with the Baron. They're pushing up, but Legacy, Carbon specifically, keep going for these engages. And that was so close to being absolute disaster. Tally's ulti was about 10 seconds off cooldown there. If he had it up, it would have been a 4-man Gnar stun into the wall, followed up by all the damage from Lost, all the damage from Claire. But he didn't have it available, so they get out ultimately scot-free. Pabu does lose his life, but...
Look at Lost, he's 7-1-2.
Yeah.
He's got a rapid fire cannon.
he's sitting on 4 items right now. He was relatively even with Raid just a moment ago, and now he's picked up all these kills and is a full item ahead.
Disgusting. One champion you don't want to get ahead.
Not to mention you have the item sensor on the Karma as well, so it does even more damage than his items suggest, as Carbon's greeting for a pink ward. Doesn't quite get it.
He's going to be sad about that. I hate the control wards. I hate them as a color.
Hate them as a brand. Hate them as an org.
But Legacy have taken the goal lead back, but it's only 1,000. This game is dead even. Abyss have the Elemental Dragons in their favor, 2 Oceans and an Infernal. So that could dictate the flow of the fight. Thornmail is complete by Parbu as well.
Yeah, no, he's sitting on the Righteous Glory. It was his first item, I believe, and it has come
Warmogs.
up pretty big for him in these fights. A number of these catches that he has been getting are off the back of his ultimate into like a Righteous Glory W combo, so...
The scary thing for Lost is that's an early Thornmail. He's on close to 6 items, but none of it is going to be lifesteal.
Oh, the QSS will eventually build into
Eventually,
Mercurial,
but
so
right
his
now-
next item, he will get lifesteal. Yeah, but as you say right now, he does have a huge Karma Shield that will heal him as well with the...
True.
Oh,
He's
Parbu.
rocket jumped on top of Parbu, going to fire away at that, despite how tanky the Maokai is. Lost still does a ton of damage. Carbon gets his initiation pop there. Parbu in trouble, trying to run away. That Satchel Charge is going to do a lot of damage to him. Winter's
No
Bite
flash.
comes through and Carbon jumps on his face, cuts down the tree. Legacy the only trees in this game right now, and they're looking to push through bottom lane.
Parbu just caught out of position. No flash to get away from that, so he eventually gets chased down. Nice slow from Cupcake to eventually pick up the kill. Carbon just doing Carbon things. Every single fight, he just Elastic Slingshots, look for a pick, and then backs away immediately and just rinse and repeats. Does
He's
it
been
every
having-
single time.
Carbon's been having trampoline lessons here.
Yeah.
Just every time, whoop, charges up, goes in, doesn't care.
Probably won't. Oh, he does go through that one.
Let's
Man
go.
Shield, they are looking. Oh,
Slaps him in the rubber hands, forces a flash out of Luge, so he gets something good
Okay.
out of that. Now Tally's going to be the one that charges in the front lane. So keep doing this. One by one, the tanks go
Yeah.
forward, they back out. It's actually really cool to watch.
Tally, and more specifically Legacy, as they look for this fight, actually.
Tally wants to get a Gnar off there, but his ultimate is down. He's going to get locked down here. Big mistake coming out from the Legacy top laner. Abyss going to chase further forward.
That's a
Parbu's
TP
flanking.
flank.
All the way in the river, if you take a look at your mini-map, he's coming around. Legacy need to get out because the rest of them are
They're
still
gonna
going in. They turn. They want to go for the 4-on-4 to kick things off. Seb, though, he's on top of Lost, doesn't do any damage, and Lost
ulti.
gets free hit. They'll lose Cupcake. Karma's going to deliver 2 back in, but big ultimate coming out of Rosie. Now Parbu's in the back lines. Exhaust being used onto Lost. Legacy need to get out of this one. Ultimate coming out from Tristana, knocks him back, but Seb with the flash body bop. Lost will flash away. Parbu's still chasing forward. Carbon's a dead man walking. And Abyss will turn around that fight.
Yeah, Carbon loses his passive. Tally just overextending at the inhib. We were saying they have this multifaceted engage.
Parbu,
He doesn't
angry
quite
man.
get it. As Carbon, he uses his E, gets into the backline, and then Braum jumps to him and then looks to slow down a target with his Q, and then Tally, with the double jump over the top, is looking for the ulti
Baron.
pick, but they overextend there. Tally gets caught out. Parbu, despite getting caught earlier, he respawned, had his TP available. Nice wards for him to flank to, pick up pick up a bunch of kills, and they are looking for the Baron. This could be the second Baron for Abyss in this game.
It's up. Legacy are piling on over, but Carbon's still dead. Tally and Claire both have teleport, but they should get there in time. However, Abyss, they do this so quick. That's going to fall before anyone from Legacy can get into the pit.
Do Legacy pick the fight, though? Because Maokai ulti's down, so is Janna ulti.
No Zac, though. Let's see what they do.
Yeah.
Tally's in the front lanes. Lost going to pick off Rosie. Arca jumps forward, gets him in the satchel, but not the auto attack. Meanwhile, Pabu is very low. No Janna in this fight. Luge, he's trying to get to the pit. Can he flash out? No flash available. Tally kills Rosie over the wall, gets a double, locks down Raid, he's dead. Sam Speed jumped on, triple kill for the vice captain. He gets the quadra kill as well. And Legacy pick a 4-on-5.
Absolutely huge engage out of Legacy there. They give them the Baron. They know that they can't contest that. They wait for it to go down. Rosie gets caught on the site by Lost, has to flash away. He can't peel his carries there. So Tally gets free access to the backline. Huge combo out of him, locking down the Orianna. Luch did absolutely nothing in that fight, cleans up all of the kills, snipes the Janna over the wall, and Legacy are looking to take another inhib.
They certainly are. They're pushing through 2 lanes. Lost this top side of the map, already got 1 turret. Mid lane turret's going to fall as well. All 3 inhibitors are open. This is a disaster for Abyss.
And they were in such a good position like 5 minutes ago. And it all just seems to have gone downhill from there. They are looking to get a triple inhib here. They don't look for the end. They can't push the Nexus turrets against the Baron minions. There's too much wave clear, too many minions for them to hit. They can't clear it in time, so they do opt for the triple inhib, so their next push will be the one for the victory.
They do have the first meaningful gold lead of about 5,000 gold. Elemental Dragon is going to come up as well as Carbon picks a fight with a frog.
Carbon wins.
Barely.
Claire picks a fight with a blue buff. Carbon wins.
Carbon wins. I hope
Not
that
quite.
happened. Claire ends up winning. Oh, Lost!
Here we go.
On top of
Rosie,
Rosie
no
again. Deja vu for the support. He will live, but eventually
Crit.
falls. Everything's thrown onto us. That's a big shield on the Tristana. He's not going anywhere. Auto attacking his way back into the fight. Tally's found a flank. Luch is 1-on-1 against the Zac man himself. He pops Zhonya's. Both the carries for Abyss are trying to deal with the captain of the Legacy. Pabu now, the next one to fall. Double kill picked up by Tally. He's going to go Mega. That's an angry nudge. Jumping on their face in a second. No ultimate available of him, but Lost. Super Mario time. Gets one jump. Wants to get the second. No mana left. Raid, though, in trouble. Flashes out of this one. Not going to be enough. He's locked down, and it's an ace picked up by Legacy.
And time again, Rosie is just getting caught out by Lost in these team fights. Had no flash there, couldn't save himself. Gets picked up with the kill, with the crit on the back end of that. And Carbon made a really smart choice in that fight. He actually ultis both Raid and Luch away from his carries so they can clean up the front line. Claire TP flanks in from behind the fight, and then they're picking up the victory here.
Yeah, strong start from Abyss, but Legacy fight back even stronger. They're able to turn this game around off the back of a big 4-on-5 anti-Baron play coming out for them. They're onto the Nexus. Lost looks happy, and Legacy pick up first game victory.
And a shaky start from them, as you mentioned there. Carbon doesn't look too happy with that one.
You would not be.
A few blunders in the early game as he's plays a bit hot in the room there. But yeah, towards the later game, Tally absolutely popping off. Lost had a great game on the Tristana, scaled up really well, picked up all of the kills in one of those mid-game team fights, and then all of a sudden was 6-1 and just demolishing the front line of Abyss. And
yeah, they kept doing this really cool thing where Carbon go in first, wait for the Mega Gnar. As soon as Mega Gnar comes in, he swaps out, and they go back in.
They just jump to each other. Zac jumps in, Braum jumps to Zac.
Braum comes in last. He's like, I'm the last fort here. I'll hold up the door.
No, and then Tally just like double jumps over the top. So very creative comp out of Legacy.
Yeah, but Abyss, they played it really well. Seb probably had the best game he's had this entire split, and wasn't enough to pick up a victory for Abyss. There you go. Rosie on your screen with the Janna pick. He got caught out twice in positions where he should not have been picked off.
Yeah, tried to be a frontline Janna. Couldn't quite do it.
Raid as well. You see how disappointed he looks because he had a great game.
Yeah.
He was looking great.
Yeah, he started off great that game. Had a fairly decent run. Was looking very competitive with Lost, and that was one of the big question marks coming into this game. And yeah, had a very competitive performance. But yeah, Rosie getting caught out after the Baron. Legacy clean up the team fight, and it was a very decisive game from Legacy. They were behind early, but as soon as they got the advantage, they clean up the team fight, take an inhib, and then in the bot lane, clean up a fight, take an inhib, and then very decisive victory.
And Legacy, with those decisive fights, are able to pick up a Game 1 victory over Abyss. But Abyss did look really promising in the match. But to break it down further, let's send it back to the analyst desk.
Thanks so much, Fish. What a game of League of Legends. That was just 10 bodies throwing themselves at each other, and ultimately Legacy come out the victors.
That's the League of Legends I like. I love a good wombo combo. I love watching it just nice, good old-fashioned wombo combo in a lane and just see who comes out on top.
That was out of like a Regicide series and a Legacy series, I really didn't think that we'd see like the sloppy back and forth fighting come out of Legacy. But, you know, that was just like the two front to back team fight like comps that just ran head to head, head to head, head to head, and just didn't end.
Yeah, it certainly didn't. But an impressive early game coming out of Abyss Esports. Seb, I think, is a player we have to highlight because he was having an absolute cracker of a game, and his pathing was good early, Juves.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that's the best game. I know Fish said that's the best game he's played all split. I'm gonna say that's the best game he's played in 2 splits. Even last split, that early game from him was so good. Like, that was just clean. He kept track of Carbon. He skirmished with Carbon. He got his mid laner kills. He got kills in every lane. He pretty much played the early game, I would say, close to perfect.
Yeah, no, he actually had a really good early performance. And, you know, maybe against the Zac, you know, maybe he's seeing a little bit of pressure because there's so many, like, you know, crazy different, like, gank paths and stuff. And, you know, he has maybe, like, a few dangerous lanes that you don't want to let, like, the tally get ahead on Gnar sort of thing. But, yeah, he had a really good early phase. And I think that, you know, they transitioned that into some pretty decent, you know, early skirmishes and stuff. And it really looked like, you know, it could have gone either way.
Yeah, it certainly did look like it was going to be a back and forward affair, and it looked like it was going to come down heavily to comp and decision making. And I know there are a couple of times just that you're looking at that maybe Legacy were actually making the wrong decisions this game.
Yeah, so we saw like this really, really long fight in mid that, you know, just it was like an engage, re-engage, and it just, I guess, like, this goes on forever, I guess, and, you know, everyone ends up like using their ults and stuff, and, you know, not much really comes from it. You know, watch the fight go on forever. It's just, I guess it's about like resource management to a degree. So like you have like all of the engages and disengage, and everyone's flashing out. I think we've seen already like 7 or 8 summoner spells used. And it gets to the point where they're at the turret. You know, Carbon drops his ult.
And this is the first time that Raid gets access to the fight. I mean, Raid wasn't even here for the entire beginning of this team fight.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And so he's just gotten there late. You know, you even have Claire now trying to save Carbon, you know, with the TP. Raid drops his ult out, and they start chasing back into the fight. Obviously looking pretty good for Abyss right here. And the fight sort of fizzles out with, you know, no sort of massive outcome. And you're like, all right, we get a little bit of reprieve, right? You know, maybe I can calm down. Everyone, like, you know, backs off here. And I think it, you know, it just sort of continues going on, right? Like, we go back. Seb walks back into the jungle now, starting to get, you know, as we said, you know, a bit of more information over over Carbon, and then they engage again. It's like running back down the lane here. You know, the respawns are coming back from Pabu. You know, he's coming now and he's looking to TP. And they sort of just clump up into this river fight, and it's a really nice 4-man or a 3-man ultimate from Luch. It's just, I guess, a Legacy not really understanding that they, you know, they need to keep a cool head, I guess, because the game sort of gets put in Abyss's hands here.
And the big thing for me was I was like, Luch, why are you hitting that plant? You're going to slow down your team, but it was to get enough mana juve so he could actually hit the shockwave.
That was some very high IQ thinking, I would say. Coming from the man himself, that was some high IQ stuff.
But once again, that's one of those fights that we just saw that, you know, Legacy, they win the initial, but I know that you just kept saying, Juves, that the continual re-engage, the fact that there's warmogs, low cooldowns on everyone, that's how you end up, you know, not being able to take capitalize on the back end of team fights.
Yeah, so if you're constantly skirmishing and constantly just picking fights, getting low, there's no objective that gets taken. And it goes to show, like, the warmogs came so, I guess, so handy that, like, after one fight, Pabu got to regen to full HP on Maokai, and then they got to do the bait the Baron. But I guess one thing I want to touch on is when Legacy overcommitted for the inhib, and Pabu had time to respawn and then TP in behind Legacy, it was insane. So I guess the comms here were a bit scattered. They thought they could get the inhib, and then it turns out they didn't. And Legacy at this point are like, okay, we've got to back out. And then I guess someone spotted that TP, and they were like, there's no chance we're getting out of here alive. Maokai's got the flank, the Righteous Glory, so they take the decision to turn, but it's already too late. Like, the damage has been done, and I guess they're just turning to try and recoup some losses, and I don't think they got anything from it. And as a result, they lose the Baron.
Yeah, and you know, it's sort of that same mentality, right, where you have to be really, like, I guess, disciplined on yourself to be playing for something and understanding when you need to reset. Because if you just give it, like, the opportunity for the other team to defend off that, like, that inhib push, you know, then now they start chasing down the kills, and, you know, Baron's coming up in the next 40 seconds, right, and the game just becomes a bit more of a coin flip, really.
Yeah, and that's what this game was to me. It was back and forth team fights that were just being determined by, you know, individual outplays or coin flips. No real coordination shown from anyone. However, champions eventually do start taking over. Tristana's superior range, the shields that were coming out of this Karma. I mean, he should have died like 5 times.
Yeah, so this is just obviously Legacy have in the early weeks of the OPL, picked for these scaling compositions, putting Claire on Karma, putting Lost on a hyper carry. And Juves and I were like, oh, Lost is dead. Look at this. Oh, no, there's another health bar coming up. All right, free shield, whatever. And then it happens again for a 3rd time. Like, he just charges like all of his health back up, massive shielding. And it's really hard, I think, for Abyss at this point to win a fight.
I'm pretty sure he's going to get banned for cheating. That's cheating. You have 3 HP bars. Why does your AD carry get 3 health bars? That's a VAC ban.
Yeah, no, it's just like at this point, I think comp really is come online for Legacy. They've far outscaled that of Abyss, and their hyper carry comp comes up trumps.
You will not beat a 5/6 item Tristana with Karma, with Ardent Sensor, with Lockets in a late game team fight. You just won't.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what this meta's devolved to. We thought, we were wondering, how far down the rabbit hole are we going to go? Well, we saw really supportive champions in Karma and Janna picked by both teams, and then just one carry on each, and hyper-aggressive tanks everywhere else.
Exactly. It was just Tim, you're Carbon, you're playing a tank. Tally, you're playing pseudo tank. I guess Nazi, but he built for the team fights. Actually, he didn't go the Frozen Mallet. He just built straight Spirit Visage, and it was the same on Abyss's end. And it was like, which AD carry? And it's good that we pointed on it before the game. Which AD carry is going to pop off more? And I would say Lost.
Yeah,
Lost did his team
round 1 definitely goes to Lost. If we're putting them in the boxing ring, that was just a whitewash for Lost. I think a really, really good performance on a champion he's shown to have a lot of comfort on.
It certainly was the case. And I guess we will have a look at the junglers as we bring them up on the screen, because we've already talked about, the fact that Seb had a very good early game. And Carbon actually died, I think, 2 or 3 times. But as the game progressed, you can see that Carbon has pretty good control over his team. He knows when they want to fight. He knows when they want him to engage.
One thing I would say that Legacy do really well, and I think you can attribute this to Carbon, is their mid-game. Their mid-game is really well. They often find themselves in deficits early game, but they manage to bring it back. On the other hand, Seb this game had a really good early game. And I don't know if he's the shot caller or who's shot calling, but I feel like they could have definitely set up for a lot cleaner fights, playing around Gragas' power spike on the early Night's Veil, sitting with the AD carry, putting a Night's Veil on him, and I guess taking objectives. It was kind of messy from both ends, and I guess the experience from Carbon and the mid-game-esque team and late-game team just pulled trumps.
Yeah, no, I think one interesting thing to point out is just looking at the amount of jungle camps that Carbon has prioritized, and I guess Seb had a pretty good early game, and he did control the pacing of that game, but he wasn't counter jungling enough to really shut Carbon out of the game. So catch up mechanic, he definitely got to scale back into that one, and then obviously he was just a bit of a super tank later.
Yeah, catch up mechanic is a nice thing.
It's our favorite.
When you fall behind in the jungle, when I fall down some levels in the jungle, when my team counter jungles my wraiths, I get to catch back up because of the mechanic. So yeah, definitely would have liked to have seen Seb push that advantage a little bit more. But I don't know how much you can put on Seb. He did a lot that game. He put a lot of work into lanes. I think it's just down to their shot calling and what they could have done with the lead that Seb got them.
Yeah, they had the window and they weren't able to capitalize. And when you do that, when Lost is on one of his favorite champions at the moment, he's going to be able to run away with the game. We already spoke about it a little bit, but my God, were these AD carries just exchanging blows. And that is, we said we would give it to Lost, but that's pretty close across the board, gentlemen.
Yeah, not by too much, I guess. Obviously, I think Lost had probably the better scaling champion. Although we did argue maybe that Xayah, with her damage to tanks with the root or whatever,
the rake,
the rake. Obviously did a lot of work himself. So I think that maybe Raid just goes back to what he did that game. Maybe a few tweaks here and there, but yeah, no, I think Lost had a really good performance, and he looked to clean up those team fights really well later.
Looking at that graph, I think it's not necessarily about individual performance now, because I think individually we know that Raid's going to do a similar damage output anyway from this game, a similar damage output to Lost. But I think it's more about just decision making now. Can Abyss go back, identify where their mistakes were, calm down, because you've got a lead, just calm down and focus on getting that objective and not just turning it into a Clown Fiesta team fight 5v5 where you're going to get outscaled.
And I think what this game has shown us, and looking across this, is that no longer can Abyss say, we gave it a good crack and hold our head high. They need to come back and they need to take a game here at least, because they're playing good League of Legends at the moment.
I think if you're Abyss and you don't at least match that performance, you're going to be very disappointed.
Yeah, and then I guess on the other side of things, I think Legacy will probably look at that game and see how many kills there were and how many endless fights. And I'm pretty sure Soul Strikes has often been talked about, that coach who's guys and cracks down in the break room sort of thing. So I think that Abyss need to step it up a little bit more and look to get a bit more energy. I think on the other side, Legacy are probably going to slow down and just be like, all right, we can play a clean macro game. We are going to be better than them in the long run.
All right, cool. We'll see whether they're able to do that. I mean, it is very hard to mentally reset going into a game. I know that, Jubes, you find it pretty easy. You just look in the mirror?
I look in the mirror and I go back to the boys and say, boys, I looked in the mirror, I seen it, I'm good looking.
He's changed the
I'm
speech.
joking, I'm joking.
However, leaving that game a little bit behind, let's pull up some tweets. And I think that, a valid question here, although maybe not the champion that we're looking for. It's with all these tanks coming back, how long until we see Miss Fortune support return to shred them? I mean, it did go an armor shredding build, but I think it was more useful against the squishies, in my opinion.
Yeah, so the Miss Fortune was used as like a lane counter, right? Because you got priority in these lanes of mages and things like that. So, I mean, it was majoritively against the Zyra. Right? It was really good into Zyra. I think at the moment, MF suffers from that thing where it's like, yeah, she might do a lot of damage, but she also is basically a walking 300 gold, right? Like, every tank looks at her being like, all right, I've got 3 CC abilities, and they've all got Miss Fortune's name on it.
To simplify things for this question, I would say to Ranger asking, imagine a Righteous Glory Maokai running at you, Wing you. Imagine a Sejuani Q ulting you. Just imagine those things. Then imagine the value the team gets from killing you, and can you see Miss Fortune being a good pick?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that it requires so much positioning, and in the current patch where they just gap closes absolutely everyone in tanks, you just can't position that perfectly. So we'll see whether it does come back. However, next tweet coming up on your screen now, it is going to be from Wifey Valentine. Will Morgana come back as a niche pick with Maokai, Ali, Braum back in the meta? I used to love Morgana with and against Maokai because it made his job a lot easier and shut him down. What are your thoughts on it?
You do see, I guess, in some regions, maybe like 1 or 2 niche Morganas. I know Ole in NA LCS does like a Morgana pick. I guess my problem with Morgana is if you're playing it specifically for the Black Shield, I guess there's like maybe better things out there. I'm not too familiar with like bot lane matchups and how Morgana lanes, but I can't imagine it's a strong laner. And in a meta where like bot lane's really important and getting that tower or having lane priority is important, I don't think Morgana would be a very good pick.
Yeah, I love that. Jubes is like, yeah, I don't really know how bot lane works, and he starts like peering over to Ejim, like, bail me out of this. No, I think one of the problems that, as you mentioned, she does have is that some of these lanes right now it's hard for her to gain control in. Obviously she does have some nice counter picks in the bot lane, and I think that to answer your question, we probably will see her come back a little bit. I think people like Hakuko really like her.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely people will play her. I just think that she's not going to be like the next OP champion.
And that, I was actually going to bring it up in today's series. If they're really worried about Braum on the side of TM Gaming, I didn't understand why they didn't give Tegan the counter pick, because he is the Morgana man in Oceania. However, we are about ready to get into Game 2, so we're not going to hold you here any longer. After these highlights, we'll send you back to the casters, Fish and Egypt.
Flash in the mid lane, a lockdown Luge. He's brought back. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough damage yet, but it is. Final attacks enough. Claire picks up first blood. Carbon slams him into the wall. Double jump coming out from Tally. Loss is going to hop like Super Mario. Applies red buff to both of them. Oh no, Luge! Oh goodness, big shockwave comes out from him. He gets instantly 2 kills. Carbon returns 1. Loss is trying to kite this one out, but look at Pabu run so fast. There's the sapling. Touchdown sapling. Will it be? Chased by the little kitten. Picks up a kill. And Carbon's the one that's in trouble next. Already had his passive block. And somehow Abyss turned that around. And let's see what they do. Tally's in the front lanes. Lost going to pick off Rosie. Arcangels forward. Gets him the satchel, but not the auto attack. Meanwhile, Pabu is very low. No Janna in this fight. Luge, he's trying to get to the pit. Can he flash out? No flash available. Tally kills Rosie over the wall. Gets a double. Locks down Raid. He's dead. Sam Speed jumped on. Triple kill for the vice captain. He gets the quadra kill as well. And Legacy pick a 4-on-5. That's a big shield on the Tristana. He's not going anywhere. Auto attacking his way back into the fight. Tally's found a flank. Luch is 1-on-1 against the Zac Man himself. He pops Sonya's. Both the carries for Abyss are trying to deal with the captain of the Legacy. Pabu now, the next one to fall. Double kill picked up by Tally. He's going to go mega. That's an angry nudge. Jumping on their face in a second. No ultimate available of him, but lost. Super Mario time. Gets one jump. Wants to get the second. No mana left. Raid, though, in trouble. Flashes out of this one. Not going to be enough. He's locked down, and it's an ace picked up by Legacy. And they're on to the Nexus. Lost looks happy, and Legacy pick up first game victory. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to get into